Hello there guys, my name is Mr. Dalek JD and welcome back to my zombie storyline, entire storyline Decrypted. This is going to be part 3, continuing on from part 2. If you haven't seen part 2, there's going to be an annotation appearing above right now and it's going to be there for the rest of the video. So make your way over and watch part 2 if you haven't seen that already. Now I urge you guys to hit that like and favorite button, because the more likes and favorites we get, not only the quicker I'll release the next episode, but the more chance there'll be of people seeing it. And also, I wouldn't mind this being on the front page of YouTube, because a lot of people are interested in the zombie storyline and have yet to fully discover it. And I know you guys are really enjoying the series, so I just want you guys to keep with the fantastic support. Now anyway, I told you guys that I was going to move on to the next stuff involving Moon and carrying on from the story, where I was finished with the electrical traps at Deriz, Rook, and Kingdom of Toten, and then I moved on for the Wonderwolf DG2. So, alright, now that Moon's out and all the story's been tied up the loose ends for now, I'm going to tell you what's going on. So, here we go. Richtofen also was the first person to create the teleporter along with Dr. Schuster, which at first could teleport a walnut a few feet, and Maxis laughed at the creation and said it was worthless, while Richtofen and Schuster decided to continue their work and ended up with a version capable of safely transporting a living human. But to Richtofen's surprise, the teleporter did not go to the receiving end immediately. He first teleported it into an ancient jungle where he was stuck for an unknown period of time. Then he was sent to a place where it was dark and he felt weightless, which turned out to be the moon base, which would be deemed later as Griffin's station. He discovered the alien pyramid with a sleek black appearance and many ancient writings on it. Upon his return, he had Schuster go through to experience what he had just. They continued their experiments and making trips back to Griffin Station and added a biodome and other facilities to it. While back at Deriz, Maxis, as predicted, went with the idea of a teleporter but struggled with the design. Now let's move back to the MDTs / teleporters. They finally got them to stop destroying the test subjects, but when they reappeared at the mainframe, their minds were lost. These were the first zombies. They also found that the 115 element had the power to reanimate dead cells, therefore bringing the dead subjects back to life in the same state as the ones from the teleporters. Maxis tried to control them at Deriz but failed, so sent them to a facility known as Verrucht to be examined and experimented on. Tests at Verrucht were very crude and unsafe. Verrucht was the abandoned Wittenau sanitarium. They held the subjects in their containment cells. Some would be taken to the dentist's office, where they would use the drill to bore through their skulls and examine the brain. The kitchen as well was used to cut up the brain for physical examination. Now our friend Peter McKay comes in. He is a spy sent by the OSS to infiltrate Group 935. Another spy called Dr. Harvey Yaner was also part of the OSS who infiltrated Group 935. He worked at Deriz and designed his own weapon, the scavenger rifle, which was a sniper that fired delayed high explosive rounds using very advanced technology. Richtofen himself was another spy for the Illuminati, as I mentioned before, and there were likely others in the bunch. But back to Peter. While working at Verrucht, his word got back to the OSS how crude the experiments were and that he believed they were growing suspicious of him, especially Richtofen. So they sent in Tank Dempsey to spy on the asylum and see how things were to prepare for the extraction team. But he was captured and became one of Richtofen's test subjects along with Nikolai Blazinski and Takeo Masaki. He did several experiments on them, including with Element 115, as well as one in which he wiped their memory, probably due to 115 overexposure. So the OSS panicked and sent in the extraction team to Verrucht, but before they arrived, the experiments got out of control and Peter had to make his own escape from the asylum. Except he lost his arm turning off the power switch. Afterwards, he escaped to Shinonuma to continue his work. Peter received transmissions from his handler, but it is unknown if he ever received them. The Marines were met by an overwhelming number of zombies, and eventually the Marines fell. The Russians burned the surrounding forest to keep the zombies contained, which also made the Marine survival even more impossible. Later, the asylum was examined by Majestic 12, but that's another story. Meanwhile, at Deriz, experiments were poor as well. The Reich was lowering funding and support, Maxis was distracted by his secretary Sophia, and Richtofen was angry that the Wonder Waffle could not be mass-produced as promised previously. To pile on from this, Maxis began to realise the long-term effects of 115 exposure on himself. He began to believe that Sam's Teddy was stalking him and just simply losing his mind. One day, he even decided to use his daughter's dog Fluffy as a test subject. During these events, Richtofen had been adding on to Griffin's station with the help of scientists Dr. Schuster and Dr. Groff and possibly others. The work had been done under Group 935, but hidden from them at the same time. In this time, Richtofen discovered what the device did, that it linked ether and our dimension. He made trips back to Deriz to continue pretending to be Max's assistant and learning his progress and knowledge of the Vril. Richtofen, circa the time Maxis, used Fluffy as a test subject, received the letter from the Illuminati telling him to kill Dr. Maxis, which he had no problem with at all. So during the test, Sam walked in on him and was scared for her dog, and when Fluffy disappeared, it was thought to be a success, but she did not reappear at the mainframe. Instead, she spawned in the middle of the teleporter room as a hellhound, the first zombie dog. Richtofen took this as an opportunity to end them both. He locked the door shut and Maxis and said goodbye, followed by his evil laugh. Samantha managed to teleport with her dad, and they were sent to 2 different locations. Sam got sent to Griffin's station, where she was entrapped in the pyramid, which gave her the power, but she did not know it yet. Then Maxis was found and told to help them talk sense into her, but Maxis knew what the device was, and he just told Samantha, kill them all. This was followed by a gunshot which killed Maxis and angered Samantha for them taking him from her, the beginning of Sam controlling it all from ether to avenge her and her father. Aside from this, Richtofen, he had some unfinished business to take care of. He brought with him his test subjects from wherever he had been keeping them and took them to Shinonuma. At Shinonuma, he lured Peter to him and killed him by hanging. It was not difficult seeing as Peter only had one arm after the events at Varukht. But the 115 reanimated the soldiers who had been dead in the swamp, and they had to fight their way out. Afterwards, they returned to Deriz, where they once again had to fight off the now even larger hordes of zombies. They all got a wander off and got into one of the teleporters, but the 115 overloaded its systems and sent them to another station, known as Kina de Toten, the Theatre of the Damned. That's all in this part. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for the next episode of the storyline, which will be coming in the next few days. Really hope you enjoy it. And again, remember to like and favourite, and I'll see you guys soon.